It's a cube, it's a cube, it's a default cube.
I'm just a cube dodging these little asteroids, isn't it? So what do we have so far? In the last two parts, we made a cube that has some like dumb logic, some dumb boy, I'm just going to go to where the asteroid isn't type logic, and we made those spheres asteroids. So that's what we have so far. I'm thinking before we continue and we make a ship that wobbles and animates on its own, let's make this thing feel more like space. That's what we're going to do here. So that's going to be done through lighting. It's going to be done through stars going through the background. It's going to be done through, well, that's it, really. It's just going to be those two things. So let's do it. The light source, it's the only light source we have because the background is black. Let me actually enable this. The background's black, so wherever this light is, it matters a lot. So if we get rid of it, darkness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this with the sun because that kind of has infinite reach. And what I'm thinking is let's actually split this so that on one of these we can actually see what's going on in rendered view. And on the other one, we can actually position our sun. So this actually matters a lot how we orient this. So I'm thinking let's rotate it like this so we kind of have light coming from the side and harsh shadows here. We could also rotate it on the z-axis to kind of pick the angle that we have going on here. Something like this looks pretty good. So this is already looking quite dramatic. Okay. Other things to make it look space-like, I'm just going to enable bloom. And for now, I'm just going to take down the threshold so all these asteroids have this kind of faint glow. I know it's not very space-like, but I feel like when you play a game and it looks very old school, it has this glow to it. And that's just because, it's on a CRT TV, and that's just kind of a effect of the phosphorus display. But I think that looks good. Another thing is that the star background, I'm just blazing through. Is this going to be like a 60-second tutorial? Well, no, because it's probably already been 60 seconds, but whatever. Let's add in some stars. So we're going to do this through geometry nodes because we're fucking masochists. So I'm just going to add in a grid in the background. I don't want to instance a bunch of stars in the background. Let's just do it with like a grid, and we're going to project a material on it. So I'm just going to take a grid, join this with the geometry so it has the same logic of everything. We're just going to make a big grid. That is, yep, it's all in the camera. And right now it's intersecting our asteroids like a big cosmic plane of the XY grid. I'm going to take this, bring it down, something like that, just so it's like off of all this. And don't worry about the shadows. We're just going to give this its own material. So for this, we want to make a nice little star material. So material assign, just so when we make a material, it only applies to the grid and not everything else, before this join. I'm going to do a shader editor. I've been doing this tutorial series for too long. How long have I been here? This is going to be our stars material. And we apply it to the grid. So you can see it's going to be black because there's nothing going on here. If we, RGB this boy, it's going to give us this. Quick way to make stars. Sit down, listen. We're going to use a Voronoi texture, but not like that. Distance, distance in the surface. This is going to give us this kind of, how do I describe that? This kind of like blobular look. And the way Voronoi textures, it generates a bunch of points and says, oh, what's the distance to the closest point? It's going to look like this. But the trick is if you set this to Minkowski, it uses a different metric that kind of looks like stars. Don't ask questions, just nod, accept, drink your compliance juice, and set this to less than. And you can see, wow, we get stars. The size of this is going to be not only, whatever. The value here is not only going to be the size of the stars, but it's also going to dictate how many stars we have, because if some of them are too small, they're going to kind of get blipped off of existence. So pick a star density that you like. You can also kind of change the positioning of these and also kind of the roundness of them. Don't want to do that, though. Pick the thing, and that's just going to be there. It's a nice little background, but we want this to animate because it's going to feel more dynamic. So use texture coordinates, you animate on the x-axis, it's a good deal. So just like we were kind of animating using the index for this asteroid generator thing, let's also animate these coordinates. So I'm thinking we combine x, y, z. We only want to control the x-axis, so we use some math for that. And we're going to animate over time. So hash frame divided by some number. Is this too fast? That is too fast. Divide by 10? No. 100? That's kind of too fast. 200? There we go. That's exactly what we want. And maybe there's a point to having multiple layers with different like parallaxes, but I'm lazy. So how about no instead of that? So we have stars. We could also like add in like a second layer of animation by changing the scale. Would that look cool? If this, yeah, I don't think I even did that for the original. Well, let's do some of that. Could I just reuse this? Will that look good? Let's find out. No. Why does it not look good? Oh, because it should be some number and then we add some amount. Okay, let's try that. So it starts off at 45. I'm figuring this out alongside you. Why not? Is this a tutorial or is this me just explaining? We have 45 and we add some amount. Yeah, and that adds some like twinkling to the stars, does it not? That looks cool. One thing that was bothering me, by the way, is this cube's still too big. Yes, the cube's going to be a ship, but for now, let's just make it tinier. Tiny little cube. Yeah, now it's really looking like a video game. So I'm just going to look at this for a while, making sure that it looks very space-like. I mean, you can give this... there's an argument to maybe adding a material to the asteroids to add in a second layer of bump or something, just so it's more visually interesting, but I kind of like the way this looks currently. Although I'm getting bored of the very same seed, so let's like go back to like the first seed. Yeah. Wow, that's a bad seed. It starts off being very chaotic. Yeah, okay, cool. We made it look good. I guess we should make a ship or something, right?